All right, let's talk about something I think we've all felt. That feeling that your company is just flying blind. You've got all this data, right? But the reports never seem to quite line up. Different departments feel like they're speaking completely different languages. Well, today we're going to dive right into that hidden chaos and, more importantly, figure out how to fix it, how to build a single source of truth you can actually trust. Okay, so let's make this super simple with a real-world example. We've got one single product, a laptop, but look at how it shows up across the company. The supply chain team, they know it as LX15. Marketing on the e-commerce site calls it Laptop X 15-inch. And finance, they just see Model 15 in their books. 3 different names in 3 different systems for the exact same laptop. And right there, that's the seed of data chaos. Now you might think, okay, so what? But this isn't just some minor annoyance. Think about it. How can you possibly track sales performance if you can't even agree on what the product is called? How do you pay your suppliers correctly? This kind of fragmentation creates very real, very expensive problems. Wasted time, completely wrong reports, and bad decisions, all because the fundamental data doesn't line up. So if the problem is chaos, the solution has to be order. The whole goal here is to take all that scattered, messy information and forge it into one single, reliable source of truth. And this is what we call the promise of the golden record. The formal name for this whole process is Master Data Management, or MDM for short. You can just think of it as the Rulebook, the disciplined process a company uses to hunt down all those different versions of the truth, like our 3 laptop names, and merge them into one single unified record that everyone, and I mean everyone, can rely on. And the prize at the end of this MDM journey? That's the golden record. This is the whole point. It's that one perfect version of a customer or product or supplier that is clean, accurate, and totally trusted. It becomes the one and only source of truth for the entire organization. No more guessing. So how do you actually make one of these? Well, it's a 5-step journey. First, you gather all that messy data from everywhere. Then you standardize it so it's all in the same format. Next, you match the records that are talking about the same thing. Then comes this really critical step called survivorship. This is where you decide which data wins when there's a fight. You know, if one system has an old address and another has a new one, your survivorship rules pick the winner. And finally, you distribute that beautiful, clean record back out to all the systems that need it. But here's the thing, and it's a big one. Just because you've gone through the steps and created a single record, that doesn't automatically make it golden. Nope. A true golden record has to earn that title. It has to meet some seriously high standards for quality. Otherwise, you've just created a single source of, well, junk. And that trust, it's built on these 7 key pillars. You have to be able to answer these questions. Is the data accurate? Does it actually reflect reality? Is it complete? Are there any gaping holes? Is it timely? Or is it a week old? And maybe most importantly, is it unique? Making sure we've zapped every last duplicate. These questions are the absolute foundation of trusted data. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But the reality is, the path to creating and maintaining these trusted records is basically a minefield. The process itself, if you're not super careful, can actually create new errors, turning your so-called source of truth into a brand new source of failure. In fact, there are 5 critical points of failure along this path. These are the specific spots where even the best of intentions can go sideways, and good data suddenly goes bad, putting your entire effort at risk. The risk is literally at every single step. Right from the beginning, at gathering, you might just be pulling in bad data from the source. Then in standardization, your own rules might accidentally create new problems. During matching, this one's scary. You could merge 2 totally different customers into one. At survivorship, a bad rule could mean that good, fresh data gets overwritten by old, stale data. And finally, in distribution, if that golden record isn't sent out instantly, the downstream systems lose trust. So with all these risks, how on earth do you protect your data? How do you make sure your golden records actually stay golden? The answer isn't hiring an army of people to check things manually. The answer is to build a system of automated trust, a system that safeguards your data at every single step. What this really means is putting automated guardrails in place. You validate data the second it comes through the door to catch errors early. You automatically test your standardization rules to make sure they do what you think they do. You use smart algorithms to sniff out bad merges. You constantly audit your survivorship logic. And you're always monitoring for stale, outdated records. This is how you build a system that can actually stand up to reality. And that brings us to maybe the most important point of all. Creating a golden record isn't a project you finish. It's not a one-and-done deal. It is a continuous, ongoing commitment. Your data is alive. It's always changing. So keeping it clean and trustworthy has to be a process that never stops. I love this quote because it just nails it. Reconciliation is the truth test. Otherwise, your golden record is just gold paint. It perfectly captures this idea that without continuous validation, without actually checking your work by comparing record counts and unique IDs, all you've done is a superficial fix. It looks good, but it's not real, deep trust. It's just gold paint. So the real secret sauce here isn't just getting it right once. The best systems create a continuous feedback loop. Every single time you check your data, you learn something new. And those lessons get fed right back into the system to make it smarter, stronger, and more resilient over time. So what does that actually look like? Well, if you keep seeing the same type of error pop up, you turn that learning into a new validation rule to stop it from ever happening again. You track issues over time so you can spot bigger, systemic problems. You even let the business users, the people who actually know the data best, help define the rules. This creates a living, breathing system that doesn't just start clean, it actually stays clean. And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. As you go back to your day, ask yourself this question. How much of your company's data is truly golden? Is it built on a solid foundation of trust, with real checks and continuous improvement? Or is it just gold paint hiding the chaos right underneath? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.
For further questions, feel free to reach contact@datagaps.com. Scan the below QR code for free demo. Thank you.